observations. Number one, it is interesting as our Democrat colleagues defend these nationwide injunctions that neither of them made any reference to the fact that the number of nationwide injunctions issued in the first 4 months is greater than the entire 20th century and is greater than all of the nationwide injunctions issued against Bush, Obama, and Biden combined, nor did they address the disturbing fact that of the 40 universal injunctions that have been issued in the last 4 months, 35 of them came from the same 5 judicial districts. There is a reason for this. Blue state attorneys general and radical leftist groups are seeking out affirmatively radical judges who they know will impose their own policy preferences. If it were simply, as our Democrat colleagues said, judges following the law, then you wouldn't have to keep going to the same radical judges over and over and over again, because judges across the board should do that. But the litigants know exactly who the zealots are that are on the bench, and that's who they are seeking out. I will also point out that the discussion about the urgency of protecting the safety of judges. Listen, I agree. We should protect the safety of every federal judge, but it is interesting because my Democrat colleagues were utterly silent during 4 years of the Biden administration when you had violent mobs outside the homes of Supreme Court justices unhappy with the Supreme Court's ruling in Dobbs, and the Biden Justice Department refused to enforce federal law and protect the justices. And my Democrat colleagues were perfectly happy with Supreme Court justices being threatened if they disliked the rulings that were coming from the Supreme Court justices.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so this one's going to get quite spicy, and Ted Cruz just destroys Cory Booker on this one, and I've got a bonus clip for at the end of the video to show you guys, and it's going to be fascinating and lovely, if you will. But before we get into it, y'all do me that big favor, smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. We cover news, we cover politics, we cover these congressional and Senate hearings and all that goobly gop stuff, so y'all make sure and stay tuned and turn on for that. And if y'all could, do me a favor, if you'd be so inclined, look right below the video, sign up, become a member, help me deliver the best possible content I can deliver you guys, because I'm trying to beat the algorithm around here, so I need y'all's help into smashing through that algorithm. Y'all share this video anywhere and everywhere you can, but without any further ado, let's jump into this thing. It's lovely, folks.
Unlike my colleagues, I believe we should protect judges regardless of whether I agree with them or not. We should protect their safety. And every time you hear a Democrat senator talk about protecting judges from acts of violence, you ought to ask them, why did they not have a word to say about the Biden Justice Department allowing mobs to threaten the families and children of Supreme Court justices night after night after night while Biden's Attorney General refused to follow the law? And with that, I'll recognize the ranking member of the full committee, Senator Durbin.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. They asked Winston Churchill after World War II.
Would you indulge me for a moment?
We indulge you every moment.
I appreciate that act of generosity. It's just something you said that I think is actually dangerous and should be addressed, and you're welcome. But when Judge Anderol was killed in New Jersey, the Republican colleagues in the Senate, their outpouring of support, their outpouring of concern, they're willing to work together on a bipartisan bill was extraordinary. It shows the truth of this institution that despite some of the fiery rhetoric that you were sowing, we're really a bipartisan, working bipartisanship. Cornyn and Coons, after the incidents you're talking about, got together and actually passed a bill to better protect our Supreme Court justices, many of whom are friends of ours. You know, Gorsuch and I disagree on a lot of stuff. I knew his wife before he did. We studied together at Oxford. This implication that there was silence when there were threats on their people's houses is absolutely absurd. I remember the rhetoric and the comments, the concern from Coons. I actually distinctly remember you, Chairman, on more than once condemning those attacks on Republican-appointed jurists. To say things like that feeds just the partisanship in this institution and feeds the fiery rhetoric. And it's just plain not true. It's just plain not true. And I think you know that, but we can pull from the record from my colleagues in real time, literally days afterwards, condemning it. There's a lot of substantive things to say here, but to think that the lack of humanity when people's homes are being threatened was not in existence, I think that's unfair and really concerns me that you would say that in the way that you did.
I will just note right quick that he didn't address the main point at all. Also, that condemning violence and standing up and speaking out against violence are two very different things.
Well, I thank my colleague from New Jersey. I will note, as John Adams observed, that facts are stubborn things. And it is existing federal law, 18 U.S.C. Section 1507, that makes it a crime to protest at a judge's home. And the law provides whoever with the intent of interfering with, obstructing, or impeding the administration of justice, or with the intent or of influencing any judge, juror, witness, or court officer in the discharge of his duty, pickets or parades in or near a building housing a court of the United States, in or near a building or residence occupied or used by such judge, juror, witness, or court officer, or with such intent uses any sound truck or similar device, or resorts to any other demonstration in or near any such building or residence, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year, or both. That is federal criminal law. Night after night after night, angry mobs were outside the Supreme Court justices' homes, and in the entire course of it, the Biden Justice Department prosecuted nobody. We had the Attorney General sitting at that table, and multiple Republican senators asked him, why are you not enforcing the law? What they are doing is a crime. And my friend from New Jersey said, it is a lie to say we, the Democrats, condone this. I would challenge, my friend, find a single Democrat senator on this committee holding the Attorney General to account for not enforcing this law. I was here at those hearings, and I do not recall a single Democrat senator saying to the Attorney General, you should arrest these people who are violating the law. You should protect the judges. I agree that there was general language against violence, but not a single Democrat senator that I ever saw in this committee was willing to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland to account for flagrantly disregarding the federal criminal law, because the Biden administration agreed with the protesters and I think wanted those justices harassed at their home.
I really appreciate.
That's not even to mention the guy that tried to go unalive Kavanaugh. The guy he got caught trying to break into the guy's house to take his life away from him. And sure, they come out and condemn the violence, but did they say anything to the Attorney General? I watched those hearings as well, and the only thing Democrats did was kiss the freaking feet of Merrick Garland. That's it.
Appreciate that you've now shifted the accusation you made earlier. Your accusation was that we were silent in the face of protests at Supreme Court justices' homes. Again, we joined together in a bipartisan way, not only to condemn that, but to pass legislation to extend round-the-clock security protection, literally days. It was introduced May 5th, passed the Senate in a bipartisan fashion on May 9th. So if you're saying that we didn't criticize
Did the
Merrick
Biden
Garland,
DOJ arrest a single person under this law?
You are now changing the
No, that is what I said. That is what I said.
Again, I'll pull the record.
Did the Biden DOJ arrest even one?
Again.
The answer is no.
My point to you is the accusation that the Democrats on this committee do not care about the safety
All right, so let me ask
of federal
you this.
judges. I did not interrupt you,
DOJ
sir. I would appreciate if you let me finish.
That's just completely laughable. Coming up with some legislation is definitely not the same thing as voicing opposition. Coming out and condemning violence, speaking out against said violence, telling your constituency to stop with this nonsense. Those are two very different things. This dude is being ridiculous. And this is also, he's feigning of shifting the goalposts. No, Ted Cruz has been on point the entire time. The entire time. and now Cory Booker, he's trying to slide out from underneath because he knows Ted Cruz is absolutely right. They said nothing to Merrick Garland. They have no pushback whatsoever against the Biden administration for not enforcing the law. And it's not only with just this, it's with many, many different issues. How about the weaponization of the federal government, for crying out loud? The weaponization of the FBI going after January 6th defendants, innocent, peaceful protesters. They are more willing to go and arrest innocent people, innocent Americans. They didn't cause any violence at the Capitol on January 6th. They didn't even go into the building in some cases. Not allowing exculpatory evidence in trials. It's all absurd. You didn't hear a damn thing. Of course, you didn't hear much from Republicans either. So, yeah, let's not even get into that debate. Let's keep going.
I am sick and tired of hearing the kind of heated partisan rhetoric, which is one of the reasons why we have such divisions in this country. The attacks we see from the President of the United States of America trolling and dragging judges through is what we should be talking about that puts people in danger. I'm simply taking issue with the claim that you made at the top that people on the Democratic side of the aisle do not care about the safety and the security of judges and said nothing. You said we were silent after people's houses were protested. That is a patent lie, sir. We were not silent. We took action. We joined in a bipartisan way to protect those judges, as was done in a bipartisan way to protect a New Jersey judge after their horrific attack at their home.
Okay, so that's just laughable. This is based upon the supposition that people don't break laws. You can pass all the legislation you want, but when you are actively not getting the administration to enforce those laws, what do those laws even matter, right? The laws are only as good as the people who are willing to enforce said laws. And if you are not willing to push back against the administration who is sitting on their hands, not enforcing the laws, you, my friend, are complicit in those crimes. You are sitting at the Senate. You could push back publicly and privately against the Biden administration, and they absolutely did not. Don't let this guy lie to you, by the way. Let's keep going. I'm sorry about all the interruptions, but this dude's ticking me off, for crying out loud.
So I see you now trying to shift the debate to whether we talk to an attorney general. I'm simply taking issue with this accusation that somehow we Democrats are so bad because we don't call out threats to our to our judicial colleagues. And that is wrong. You could change the argument now that you want, but what you said was patently not true and was, in fact, a patent lie.
So I do enjoy the fact that my colleague from New Jersey raises his voice and says it's a patent lie and says he's doing so in defense of lowering the rhetoric. There is some irony to doing those two together. I'll point out that in the entire course of those remarks, Senator Booker did not dispute the central point I made, which is the Biden Justice Department arrested 0 people, prosecuted 0 people for violating the criminal law, and every Democrat senator on this committee was silent about it. And this was an ongoing pattern for months. And I would note also that the senator from New Jersey clutched his pearls about language threatening judges, and yet I do not recall a single Democrat senator of this committee saying a word when Chuck Schumer went to the steps of the Supreme Court and threatened the safety of the Supreme Court justices by name, Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, and he said, "You have unleashed the whirlwind and you will pay the price." And not a single Democrat senator had a word to say about this. And so their outrage is selective. And I will give my colleague from New Jersey a chance to just answer a simple yes-no question. Should the Biden Justice Department have enforced the criminal law against protesting at a justice's home? Yes or no?
So the rank hypocrisy of Chuck Schumer apologizing the next day and you holding that standard for him and not for your president, who you actually rightfully described when you were running against him in a primary. I would love to run those tapes of how you perfectly talked about the danger of our president and his rhetoric. But now you are failing, in fact, blind to the very things you're accusing Chuck Schumer of. I don't think Donald Trump would know an apology if it hit him in the head. Never said apologizing. So again, you are very, very, sir, very, very deep into the waters of hypocrisy in your criticisms of Chuck Schumer.
So let the record reflect that Spartacus did not answer the question and did not tell us whether the criminal law should be enforced, because he knows the answer is yes, and he knows that the Biden Department of Justice was being wildly political and partisan in refusing to enforce the law because they disagreed with the Supreme Court justices' rulings. I have also, in addition to Senator Durbin, who's given his opening statement, I have a written opening statement from Chairman Grassley. Without objection, that written statement is entered into the record.
And no, I didn't cut anything out of that. Senator Durbin said like 5 words before he got cut off by Cory Booker. Just fascinating. And I love how let's bring up Donald Trump. Donald Trump gets on social media. You know, those are 2 vastly different things. Also, saying something about a judge on social media, Donald Trump has never actually threatened consequences against one of those judges. He just says, oh, they're radical leftists, blah, 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 blah. Maybe they should be impeached. That's about as far as they go, right? But Chuck Schumer saying, you have unleashed the whirlwind and you will pay the price.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
My Chuck Schumer impression leaves much to be desired, if you will. But I just love these debates because, Democrats, they generally don't have facts and logic on their side. He tries to come back, and he a very, very admirable pushback there against Ted Cruz. And, I'm not really... I don't care for Ted Cruz all that much, although he is smart, he is logical, and he does know how to make a pretty good argument. That's about the best I like Ted Cruz is in situations like that. I don't really like his voting patterns, don't care for him all that much, but when it comes to making a logical argument, yeah, he's pretty damn good. I like it a lot, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I just love these Democrats. They try to come in and make these arguments, and they really don't have anything to back them up. They always resort to Donald Trump. Oh, Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, Trump's bad. Trump does this. Trump is attacking judges. Is he attacking judges? I think the judges are attacking Donald Trump because who was the one that issued the nationwide injunction for Donald Trump carrying out his constitutional authorities? They are the ones trying to stop the Trump administration from doing its job, deporting criminal aliens, for goodness sakes. It's absurd. It's all absurd. And they know it. They know they were totally silent when Merrick Garland sat right up there and said, I know the law, we know it's illegal, and we're doing everything we can to protect the justices. Except for arresting the protesters where it's blatantly illegal to protest in front of judges' houses. It's just straight up illegal, and they did nothing about that. Nothing at all. But yet they were more willing to go after innocent, peaceful protesters. When it come to January 6th, oh, you show up to the Capitol to protest, right to jail. That's it. You don't pass go. You don't collect $200 for crying out loud. You just go straight to jail. That's absurd. That's hypocrisy, not what Ted Cruz is engaging in, for goodness sakes. It's all absurd, y'all, and I love every single minute of it. I just wanted to slap this together right quick just because I thought it was a really good interaction, and it really shows where the Democratic Party currently is at. I don't see how Democrats, anybody with a brain, can still say, I'm a Democrat. Yeah, I think the Democrat they're just gone, folks. They have been gutted, just gutted from everything, but I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. It blows my freaking mind every single day. But like I said, y'all do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new around here, sign up, become a member. That would be great. Help me bust that algorithm by sharing this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.